So, Rachel, we have been chatting about our, sun, moon, and rising sign. And the weirdest thing happened the other day. I thought, let me just play with Chat GPT from an astrological perspective, right? So, everyone that's looked at my chart, it's always my sun's in Gemini, my moon's in Taurus, my rising's Libra. I put in all my little info into Chat GPT and I just asked, hey, can you kind of give me, an update on astrological aspects right now with my natal chart, things that I need to be aware of coming up in the next 6 months? And it told me that I'm Sagittarius rising.
Well, yeah, no. Chat. So this
It was wrong.
you are bringing up something that I really need to do a social media post about, and
Yeah.
that is that do not go to Chat GPT for astrology. It is inaccurate, and I've done it. I've done so many experiments with the astrology AI program, with anything that's out there that I've seen. I know I haven't done an exhaustive of list, but yeah, it is not accurate. Don't do it. Don't do it. But
Yeah, it
yeah.
made me realize, astrology and spirituality are two areas where we will always need to seek out experts in their field that physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally align with. We
Mm.
can't offset this to technology.
Yes, you're right. And I think AI is getting better and better the more people are using it. And I know a lot of people in the spiritual world think that it has its own consciousness. And so
Do.
you can get some good insights from it, but there's such a fallout with the environmental impact of it, and it's still not where we want it to be. And you're right, it can't do what a human can do, which is connect soul to soul and double check and verify that the information is correct. And I think we're wired to be in relationship with one another. And so this is why many psychics can't read for themselves, or astrologers see one another for insights. You just, I think there's nothing like that person to person connection.
No, and the best part of when you have someone read your natal chart, whether it's for your year ahead or for any sort of check in or update, is the psychic hits that the astrologer gets that they're able to share and feed with you. That's like the magic of the whole experience.
You're right. You're right. So I know just from your birth date in May that you are getting ready for a Uranus transit. Uranus is going to be moving into Gemini. It's going to be sliding over your sun in about 4 years. You've got some time, but I know that right now you're already starting to feel the rumblings of what is coming, what's going to happen, and you can start to sense that something's getting ready to change, even though you don't have any context for it. And so, yeah, so there are insights that come in uh, uh, with with just plugging something into a computer program. You're going to see what's happening now, but you're not going to see it in the context of your bigger life story.
Well, I think we're bringing up something really important in astrology right now, and this episode's going to come out very timely, is we're basically in the halfway point of the year and Mercury's in retrograde, which is like the reflection time, right? So we're kind of being forced to reflect on what have we done for the past 6 months and what are we going to get done the next 6 months. It's kind of how I see it, but you're the astrologer. How do you see this time, this Mercury in retrograde, which is a very long, and this kind of halfway point in summer?
Sure. So Mercury goes retrograde 3 to 4 times a year, and it stays in retrograde motion for 3 weeks at a time. And during that time, I think of it uh, as a time when we are drawn more inward, when we're thinking about our lives, when we're reflecting on decisions that we've made. It's a very sacred time. It's a very spiritual time. And for some people, you know, Mercury retrograde can be an amazing time for writing, for journaling, for meditating, and for course correcting. Uh, yeah, yeah, which is why you'll hear a lot of astrologers saying, don't sign contracts or don't make major decisions. And that's because you're kind of doing a rewind, going back into the past. And the past that we go back into, so I want to frame it with this, and that is that Mercury was the god mythologically who could go in and out of the underworld and remain unscathed. And so Mercury retrograde times allow us to go into our own deep psyche, our shadows. They allow us to see some of the big pain points in our lives and recontextualize them. And so there are times of really healing aspects of our history that were painful or uncomfortable, where we experienced loss or abandonment or betrayal. And so we usually have the same kind of cycles repeating themselves over and over again, each Mercury retrograde. So we don't want to, it's not advised to make major new decisions when we're operating from a place of our healing, not from a place of being on the other side of it and having a strong sense of our own potential and power and well-being.
Yeah, so during Mercury in retrograde, it's when we feel like a little bruised and we're kind of like in our little wounding, woe is me time. And then as soon as we move out of it, we'll feel empowered again and stronger and can make decisions from like just a more positive space.
Exactly. And I wanted to give some timing too. So Mercury stations retrograde on July 17th. And so that's just in a couple of days. And then it goes direct again in August 11th. And so that is the timeline that we're talking about.
Okay. So this first half of the summer, so Mercury goes retrograde. That's around the time, or goes straight again. It dissipates around the time of Lionsgate, right? That's in August.
Yep, it is. Yes.
So, what are some of the astrological alignments that are coming up kind of August, September that we should be aware of? And I don't know, maybe you can use to like reflect on our life or take action in places that we want to take action.
Yeah, such a great question. There's a lot happening this summer. So the big news of 2025 is that our outer planets, Neptune, Uranus, and Saturn, all dip into their next signs for a brief period of time, and then they go back retrograde in the fall, and then they enter them again in 2026. So there's a lot of instability. When planets are at the last degree of their sign or the first degree of the next sign, we have this sense of being in two different chapters of our lives, in two different paradigms spiritually. And so there's a lot of energy in flux between now and November. And I'll start with just talking about Saturn for a moment. Saturn goes retrograde, or it's stationed retrograde on the 12th of July. And Saturn has just made its way into Aries. That started in May, the end of May. And Saturn in Aries is like, we can see it in terms of like Saturn represents where we're pulling back, where there are rules that we need to revisit and laws that we want to change. And Aries is a very militant sign. And so one thing I think we're seeing here in California, and I won't get political, but one thing we're seeing here in California is that we have the deployment of National Guards and military presence on our farms, in our hospitals, in our daycare centers, with the immigration enforcement that's happening on a federal level. And so you have a lot of this uprising of people demonstrating against this, and the people's lives being turned upside down. And it's really a crisis right now. But this is happening all over the country and all over the world in different ways.
Yeah.
We're seeing Saturn puts a sobering light on any sector that's represented by that sign. And so war, surgery, these are all Aries sectors. guns and weapons, fire. And so there's a lot of this like rising up uh, of contrast related to the things that aren't working for us about those sectors. So that's Saturn. Now, there's also a relationship component to that in our personal lives, and that is you see a lot of people navigating relationship ups and downs.
Mhm.
And because the last time we had those eclipses on the Aries Libra axis line in 2023 and 2024, Saturn's going right back to where those points were. And so we saw the flood that happened in Kerrville, and the map is so stark because you see the path of the eclipse on the solar eclipse of October 14th of 2023, the solar eclipse of April of 2024. Both of those converged right over Kerrville.
Well, that's
I
weird.
know, I know. So the Saturn in Aries is giving everybody a glimpse back into what wasn't working for us in 2023 and 2024 and giving us an opportunity to review. And you see a lot of relationship changes taking place as a result of that. Have you noticed
Interesting.
this in
Yeah,
your
I've noticed so many people breaking up. So we can look back at a time in 2022 and 2024 and see what wasn't working for us.
Mhm. Actually, it was so the eclipses in October of 2023. And so there was October 14th, and then remember the big US eclipse in April of 2024? The one
Yes.
that everybody traveled to?
Yes.
Yeah. So the wherever an eclipse, the path of totality with an eclipse is often where we see the big events arising, the big changes arising after the eclipse.
Yeah, everyone was going to Texas from Southern California to watch the eclipse.
Exactly.
Wild.
Exactly. And I bring that up because it's an example we see in the cultural global stage what many of us are having in our personal lives, which is relationships that have been in struggle for a year to 2 years. All relationships went through a turning point with those Aries Libra eclipses in 2023 and 2024. But now the results of whatever work we did in response to those relationship challenges or new beginnings, that's all coming full circle too. So you see a lot of people falling in love for the first time in years or deciding that they want to make a change in a relationship and moving their relationship in a different direction. And so this is one of the big movements that's happening this summer. We're going to see a lot more of that even going into the fall, while Saturn is making its way back into Pisces.
Well, that's good. I hope more people fall in love and get into relationships because that makes people happier, which, makes everybody around them more happy. And that is a positive shift that can happen in communities. We want more happiness, we want less sadness,
100.
I think.
Yes, I mean your show is high vibrational. That and high vibrational doesn't mean that we're performing happiness. It means that we're generally feeling a sense of fulfillment and feeling
Yes.
we can express our light and our lives to the best of our abilities.
Yeah, we're feeling good in our body and we're feeling confident in who we are. And I think the astrology affects how we feel very much. And the more you work on yourself and evolve, the more you can feel the subtle shifts in the astrology and in the land where you're living.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about Ojai, where you live, because Ojai is considered a very high vibration place.
Hmm.
I'd love to know from you why you think Ojai has that reference to it being a high vibration place.
Well, I think Ojai has a real tradition of, well, first of all, the land itself is beautiful. We're in a valley, and so we're surrounded by the Topa Mountains, and there's the sense of it being protected. There's a real commitment from the people generations before us, going all the way back to the Chumash, who uh, were the original people here before colonization. And there's the sense that the people who've lived here have protected it and protected the environment. We have a lot of really uh, dedicated environmentalists here, for example. Uh, so that's one piece of it. But then there's also this history of Krishnamurti coming here. Annie Besant and the Theosophists had a presence here. You had this real movement of spiritual thought leaders moving here, really from the early 1900s all the way until today. We have some of the most incredible authors and thinkers who have a presence here. And so I think there's something really sacred about this land, and it's definitely what drew us here. And then also there's a deep sense of community as well. And so the people here look out for one another, and there's a sense that we all care for each other, and we care about animals and wildlife, and so that ripples throughout the community, and you can definitely feel it when you're here.
If somebody was going to visit Ojai for a day or for a weekend, are there certain activities that you would recommend that they do if they want to upgrade their body or work on themselves spiritually, or just have like more health supportive experiences in town?
Yeah, great question. You can't turn a corner here in Ojai without seeing something that's going to delight your senses or improve your life and your well-being. A couple of things that I love. First of all, Meditation Mount is this incredible meditation garden, and they have different buildings that you can go into. They have quiet meditation rooms. They have a place where you can meditate and look over the valley. Um, Hummingbirds, it's so great. So that's one thing I would definitely recommend. There's even a walking trail all around it with orange orchards. Yeah, but it's got this real sacred, it's got a deep, rich history too. So that's one thing I would definitely do. Then there's also, there are day spas, there are healers, uh, there are so many different individual practitioners who have established themselves here. So, crystal shops, Nutmegs is my personal favorite, and got the most, she's got the biggest selection of new age and metaphysical uh, uh, crystals and books and a garden in the back. So definitely go there. Um, there's the Crystal Corner, which is great for getting gemstones and wonderful energy there. You come into Ojai and you're greeted with different shops and different restaurants, and everything that you experience here is going to have that same resonance. It's going to be the food you eat is going to be carefully grown, locally curated, and has this interesting way of holding what's sacred in, and 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 finding ways for things to gently go if they don't belong in that energy.
I've been really wanting to go and eat at Rory's place. So,
Place is phenomenal. Yes,
yeah.
delicious, delicious. But we have new restaurants too now that have opened up, and great institutions. And of course, the Ojai Valley Inn is one of the most renowned spas and resorts in the world. And it's worth a visit. And it's you can watch at sunset. We have something called the pink moment, and it's where the mountains behind us turn pink, and it's beautiful. And when the moon comes down and you have the pink moment, just gorgeous. So,
Is there a way that you like to use astrology for booking your travel?
uh, yes. First of all, I use astrology for booking my travel um, with one looking at my transits and my progressions, and so I make sure that travel is represented in my chart and that there aren't going to be obstacles or roadblocks. I make sure I don't travel if I'm having a Uranus Mars opposition or a Saturn transit that could mean an accident or a fall or just travel delays. I try not to travel when Mercury is stationing direct or retrograde, because that's a day where you can have flight cancellations or, noisy people at the airport, or it's just not as comfortable to fly. And then I also use astrology with astrocartography, meaning I look at my chart. It's a way of looking at your chart in relation to the world, the whole world. And you can pinpoint certain places that are going to be favorable for you for business opportunities, for relationships, for having a great time, for eating delicious food. And then you can also see places that are going to be more challenging for you. And
Hmm.
so I try to look at that anytime I have a speaking engagement or anytime I'm getting ready to take a vacation, just to know what I'm headed into, and to avoid any potential challenges.
So if you're planning a vacation, would you first go off like your intuitive hit on where you want to go? Or are you going to look at your chart from astrocartography and see, oh, these are some places that I need to visit because it's favorable for me. Which one sounds good next?
Yeah. So the I have done both. I've done both. Most of the time I do everything with my intuition, where I'm like, ooh, I'm feeling led to go to this place, or I've been hearing a lot of good things about this location. Then and so that's one way that I use it. But if I'm looking at my astrocartography and I see that, oh wow, my Venus line goes right through Athens, Greece, then yeah, then I know that, okay, I have a big birthday coming up in a few years. I'm going to go to Athens. I'm going to go right on my Venus line and bring in this year with that energy. So I've done a little bit of both. When I'm doing business, when I'm working with clients, I've worked with clients with astrocartography in some really creative ways, helping musicians plan tours, helping businesses expand into new markets, um, helping if you live in a place where your astrocartography isn't as strong for business. Maybe it's great for relationships, or maybe you have to live there because your kids go to school and you have a life set up. Then you can advertise and market your business to a place where you have good astrocartography. Try to build your business in a place that's not your current location. And so there are ways to work around anything that isn't working for you. And one of those ways is by using astrocartography.
That's really interesting. I didn't think about it from the perspective that you can use where some of those points are on the map and market your business there or try to push sales online to people that live in that area. That's really smart.
Yes. Yes. And you'll find that if you have an online business, you might find that there is a group of people who find you in Australia or in Austria or China, somewhere that you might not have any relationships or any connections, but astrocartography is working even when you're not working it. It's amazing.
Have you had any positive experiences by actually using astrocartography? Because I've had my chart looked at twice, and I've never really known how to use it. Now I know some great places to travel that'll be supportive for me when I get there, but other than that, I haven't been able to figure out how to apply it to my life.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, a couple of things. So, first of all, I would wonder why you're asked away like, okay, what astrologer were you going to?
I did go to one astrocartographer that was highly recommended to me,
Uh-huh.
the husband and wife team that does
Yeah.
it, and
Oh,
they basically said that there was no place on the planet for me. It was really interesting.
okay. Okay, Whitney, I want to do something with you right now because this is not okay with me.
It
Uh,
was really weird. And then a few years later, I had somebody do it again, and I basically like recognized some places that, hey, they'd be great for me to travel or spend some time in because they would support this aspect of me or this aspect of me. But again, nothing was very helpful on how to use astrocartography and apply it to my life to just make my life more joyful, more fun, to make better connections, to improve outcomes in my businesses. I wasn't able to get anything like that from it.
okay. So do you want to look at your astrocartography right now as an
Sure.
example? Okay.
Sure, can we?
Yeah, let's do it. And what is your birthday?
My birthday is May 30th, 1981,
And what time were you born?
4:12 p.m. in San Diego.
Okay. Oops. Hang on 1 second. It's good that you have your exact time because astrocartography doesn't work if you don't have your exact time.
Well, I
And
mean, do
yeah,
we ever really know our exact time? Because that's what was on my little wristband at the hospital.
that's it. If you have an odd number on your wristband, then yes, then it is likely the right time. Um, and there are ways to rectify it, but as close as you can. I mean,
Yeah,
it's close
that's
as
what I've
you can.
always used. That's what the wristband said.
Great. If I can show my screen, hang on 1 second. Let me. Here we go. Okay, can you see
Oh,
that?
amazing.
Perfect.
Yes, I
Okay,
can.
great. So here is your astrocartography map, and I'm actually teaching a class on this subject starting August 18th.
Cool.
And we're going to talk specifically about how to use this. So the first thing I do when I look at an astrocartography chart, a map, is I look at what are the strong planets in your chart. And for you, you know, and so not every, so if you have we all think of Jupiter as being the planet of the benefic planet, the planet of opportunities and success and all those things. And yes, it is. But if Jupiter isn't in a great condition, what you can manifest is a lot of overwhelm or things that don't quite come through. And so I like to look at what are the positive planets, the planets that are supportive of your joy and your well-being and your opportunities that are in great condition. And so we look at essential dignity. And so I'm looking at your moon. You've got a good Jupiter. You've got a good moon. You've got a great Saturn. So where most people, I would say, do not go to your Saturn line, for you, that could actually be a place of establishing business opportunities.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I really like your moon. You've got your natal moon in the seventh house, which means that anything related to your moon is going to relate to your relationships and partnerships and collaborations. And your moon is also the governor of Cancer, so that's your 10th house, which is your midheaven, your career. And so your moon is a great line to follow.
Yeah.
And I would say if you're looking to travel and to have a good time, going anywhere on your moon line, you're going to feel right at home. So take a trip to Sedona. Or I'm sorry, well, Sedona's close enough, but take a trip to New Mexico. Go to Santa Fe. Go on a hiking trip to Denver. Even going up into the wilderness of Montana.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you want a beach trip, go down to Baja.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually some along this Mexico line right here. You could do really well finding a second home or in real estate investments. If you want to start a family and you can't, and and you're wondering where the best place to do that is, anywhere along this line would be good. Now, that said, California isn't bad. California is going to be your natal, anywhere that is on the same latitude or longitude line rather of your natal location is going to feel very familiar to you. So
Mm,
it's going to have all of the best aspects of your chart and the biggest challenges of your chart. And
mm,
you've got a good chart. So I'm not concerned about your natal location. So California is on the radar.
okay.
Um, Now, when we look at, so I also like your Jupiter line. And so Jupiter is where opportunities can open up or where you might just naturally find business deals, clients, uh, expansion of your work. And so I am looking over in South America, you've got lots of opportunities. Jupiter would also be a great line to follow for travel. And your Jupiter and Saturn line are pretty close together. But we talked about how Saturn isn't as negative an influence in your chart. So I would say lots of opportunities around down here. I wouldn't take Brazil off the picture. Uruguay, Paraguay, all the way up into different parts of Canada. Very, very favorable for getting away on a vacation. So that just gives you an example of how we could use it. And then we can go even further and go in to, say you wanted to travel to New Orleans. We would go and we would say, oh, well, your Chiron line is right there. That means that it's a place of healing. And so it might not be a wild Mardi Gras trip for you. It might be more of a going and tending to your inner child. Um,
Can we look at Mallorca? Because I'm going to be in Mallorca for my birthday next year.
oh my gosh, how
Uh,
exciting!
so I'm curious how I can use that trip then with astrocartography to make it more favorable. So this is really neat. So if someone's booking a trip, let's say it's a family trip or a group of friends, you can then reach out to an astrologer to look at your chart and see how you can best use that trip beyond just a vacation.
Absolutely. So we're going to go up here and so okay, so you're taking your trip to Mallorca. One thing to know about Spain is that Spain has your Mars line going right through it, which means a couple of things. First of all, that can open up for some challenging interactions, and you want to be extra cautious with protecting your belongings and making sure that you've got the little travel pouches and take lots of copies of your all your important documents, not because absolutely something negative is going to happen, but because that Mars influence shows that there can be uh, just some challenging interactions.
That makes sense because I see it on the map. When I went to Morocco many years ago, it was a very challenging trip. It
Mm,
was interesting. Within the first few hours that I landed in Morocco, I got stung by a wasp in the center of my third eye. It's wild.
wow. Okay, so that sounds very much like a Mars transit. Mars is sharp objects, it's needles, it's knives, it's guns. Now, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that you're going to encounter that. But you already had one experience of that Mars line and what it means to travel over that Mars line. So there are things that you can do to prevent that from happening or from those kinds of things. First of all, just be on high alert. Secondly, use your spiritual protection. Wear your crystals or anything that you do to feel that sense of protection. And then also the other thing I would say is find lots of healthy outlets for physical stress. Because you can feel that sense of like a pressure cooker wherever Mars is. And Uranus is right over there too, which is great for changing things up, for getting a new perspective on your life. It's an exciting trip, but sometimes exciting can mean that there are high highs and low lows. And so making sure that you have your safety protocols in place, that you're doing things that keep you balanced, that you're bringing in enough beauty and enjoyment and time with friends to offset some of that restless, frenetic Uranus and Mars energy.
So interesting. So that's good to know, to not, it won't necessarily just be easy peasy, super relaxing how I physically feel. Like even if everything flows with ease and grace, I might still feel a little off. So this is really good to know that like I should follow that line, and that's not going to be where I want to book if I want a real peaceful vacation.
It's a place to go if you want it, so you can create peace anywhere you go, but you can create not but and your peace is going to, you'll be more in a state of peace if you can wear your body out with walking or swimming, or dancing. Uh, so know that that it's not that it's a bad place for a vacation. I don't believe there are any such thing as bad astrology or bad places or bad compatibility. It's just a place where you've got extra energy. So knowing that, you can you can make plans to be very active while, and then balance and like wear yourself out so that you can balance it with time on the beach,
Okay. Perfect.
sipping a cold drink.
Yeah, because otherwise I'll have too much energy and I won't be able to sit still.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay.
Or you'll feel like ooh, like a, inner, you can feel some nervousness with Uranus. Uranus isn't usually when we have Uranus transits, this is when people feel insomnia or they feel like I can't, my heart won't slow down. And when you move to a place where Uranus is strongly represented, you can also feel that way. But you can easily turn that energy into excitement.
Okay. This is really good to know,
Good.
because it really just means that, living in Morocco or Spain isn't a great destiny choice for me. That there's other places on the planet that'll just be more supportive. And
Mhm.
it's just really valuable information. Because when you think about it, because I've been to those places and I know how I felt there, and you just kind of brush it off, thinking, oh, maybe that was the trip, but maybe it really is more than that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I see this happening all the time. In fact, it's so funny. There are stories uh, of that I have from clients who fly in a plane over their Mars line and hit all kinds of turbulence, and it's really frightening. And then they get over that line and it's okay. And I know I've had experiences like that myself, going to somewhere where my Pluto line was really strong, and it turns out that I was bit by a scorpion beetle, which then and going to the hospital, instead of going to the hospital, I ended up at a shaman. I mean, this is very Plutonian,
Yeah.
and you can't make this up. So yeah, it does work, and I find that when you relocate somewhere, move to a new place, it takes about 2 years for you to fully sink into the energy of your new chart. Um, but you definitely can be aware of it within the first visit. And it's so cool too, because sometimes you even meet people. Like I see a lot of love stories where your Venus line goes right through Spain, or let's say your Venus line goes right through a country, and you end up meeting someone or dating someone from that country. So it really does work.
Have you taken a vacation on your Venus line?
I have actually. So my Venus line goes right through New York, and it is wonderful. It is, I enjoy it. I have great friends there. I love the food. I love the clothes. I go shopping. So my Venus line goes right through New York.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you highly suggest that we all figure out where our Venus line is and take a trip at some time
Uh-huh.
on that line just to have that experience.
Yes, I think so. And even so, I don't have a dignified Venus. My Venus is in a sign that is the sign of her detriment. My Venus is challenged by other factors in my chart. And even with those conditions on my Venus, I still enjoy Venusian qualities when I go to New York. And a lot of my friends and a lot of I've dated people from New York. So yes, so go to your Venus line just to experience the indulgence of it.
Yeah.
And go to your Jupiter line, no matter how dignified or challenged your Jupiter is, go to your Jupiter line to feel what it feels like when there are no boundaries, when things can open up. Because sometimes it's amazing and opportunities just come to you. And other times it's like if you don't have good boundaries to begin with, it can be a little too much. You have to learn how to say no. So it's all so specific to your chart and so specific to your natal placements, which is why, going back to what we were talking about earlier, which is why you can't just go to ChatGPT and plug it in,
No.
because there are so many different facets to every point in your chart.
How do you kind of create your own spiritual practice right now, giving kind of all the different strange astrological alignments that keep happening? You live in a very high vibration place. It's a very peaceful energy, but what does your spiritual practice look like right now?
Hmm. My spiritual practice is very, since I started, I mean, I've had dedicated spiritual practices my whole life. Um, but I find that my spirituality works in everyday life. I'm one who believes in practical applications to spirituality. I do my meditation when I'm getting my makeup on. It's like a reflective time of meditation. Uh, I play music. I create art, and those are part of my spiritual practices. Right now, I'm writing a book, and so a lot of my dedicated spiritual time is about being in the state of openness and stillness that I have to be when I'm working on a self-help or healing, a book that I want to help others or that I feel called to help others. So, and then also I'm doing more and more spiritual activism. So, looking at what's taking place in the world and where I can gather people together in ritual or in healing circles for things for peace, for an end to war, or for some of the challenges that we have with our environment and climate. And so I find that a lot of my spirituality these days is really activism.
Yeah, so actually playing a part in your community and helping it maintain the traditions that it has and move it in the direction that's more supportive for the people who live there now. I
Yes.
think that's super important. I think oftentimes, and this comes from like my former life when I lived in Washington, D.C., people think that they need to get involved at such a large level. And the most valuable thing that you can do is just be a part of your community where you live.
Mm,
Even if it's just in reference to your neighborhood. That's
absolutely.
just like start small and start where you are and create change by just making where you live a happier, more beautiful place.
You're absolutely right. And I think one thing, so many of us are busy. You're a mom, you're working, you have lots of different hats that you wear. And so many of us have this mentality that we have to sit for 30 minutes and meditate because it's how we were taught that we have to exercise for a certain amount of time. We have to do, but actually living our lives is a spiritual. We can't separate the activities that we do every day, being ourselves in the world, and our spirituality. Our spirituality is who we are. And so everything we do can be a spiritual act, whether it's cooking dinner or, um, you know, playing a game with your kids or going for a walk. Sometimes even watching Netflix can be a spiritual activity. If you go into it with the intention of, okay, Spirit, I am ready for a message, or I am open, sometimes you can get a really amazing spiritual insight while you're watching a show.
That's interesting. I've talked to another guest on the podcast who is a medium, and she says that her time watching Netflix and TV shows is her opportunity to get messages from her guides.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I forget that, but it's about setting the intention before you watch the show.
Totally, totally. And we have all these beliefs, those of us who were born in the 70s or the 80s, and some of us in the 90s, we have all these beliefs about what's good and what's bad. And, you shouldn't do this, and it's a waste of time to do this. I mean, I guess all of us, no matter when we're born, we have those beliefs. But you can reframe anything for yourself and make it a gift. And so, yes, you can get messages watching a show.
So, what's a message that the listener and you and I can do this evening if we're going to turn on Netflix or Amazon Prime or any of those networks? Before we turn on the show, what's something that we can ask our guides and angels to show us? Or what's one kind of prompt that you use for yourself?
Yeah. So sometimes, so here's one. So there are shows that I love watching PBS. I love watching documentaries, but sometimes I just want to watch something funny, like a sitcom. And there was one night in particular that I was like, I want to watch a sitcom. And all of a sudden I heard inside of my awareness, turn on the documentary channel. And I was like, I don't want to. And I watched this documentary about a musician, and I was blown away with the creativity, and I tapped into my own creativity, and I'm so glad I heard that message. So don't just automatically click on a show. Ask yourself, close your eyes, go into reflection, and say, what do I want to experience right now? And it might be, it might be something completely silly. But just follow your intuition about what you most want to watch, and don't ignore it, and don't try to talk yourself out of it.
Will
Yeah.
do, because
Yeah.
there's something there for us.
Yes. So what is the show that you want to watch?
Oh, I am enjoying two different shows right now. One is The Gilded Age, because I
Oh,
romanticize about that time in New York and in history.
uh-huh.
And then the other is The Buccaneers, which is about the same time period, but the characters go back and forth between New York and England.
Mm,
Um, so it's that time period. It's where it's very traditional, and it's old fashioned, and it's all really about romance. It's really about people figuring out who they're going to partner up with and create a life with.
I love it.
And there's old rules about how you do it and new rules about how you do it. And so those are the two shows that I'm enjoying the most.
Wow. And so go into one of those tonight if that resonates with you,
Yeah.
and ask for a message either about a past life, or about something that you're healing karmically, or about a message for your own romance that can be a takeaway for you.
I'm going to ask all three of those
Good,
questions
good,
as
good.
I watch the rest of the series for both. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, see,
Well,
we don't have to put pressure on ourselves to be spiritual. We
yeah.
are spiritual, and everything we do is a reflection of that.
And it's the synchronicities that is the most fun part. It's the
Yeah.
playfulness.
Yeah.
And it's the symbology. I always find that's the most fun. And then taking that symbology or that message and then decoding it over time and then watching it kind of play out in your life. Like that's the fun of it.
Definitely. Definitely.
Well, where can people learn about your astrocartography class that you have coming up?
Yeah, it's on my website, rachelllangastrologer.com. And if you go under classes, you'll see that. And then I'm also on Instagram and TikTok and all the social media channels. So
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today and making this happen. And I hope to see you in a few weeks when I stop through Ojai.
absolutely, yes. And oh, I forgot to mention Taft Gardens is another place to visit. It is
Ooh,
so
okay.
gorgeous. So maybe I'll take you there.
Fabulous. Or your favorite coffee shop. I'm open to either.
Great.
All
Definitely.
right. Thank you
All
so much,
right.
Rachel.
Thank you, Whitney. Have a great day.